are listening to Deep Dive Divas, episode 062, Alice's Restaurant. Please follow us online and review the program using the links in this episode's show notes, you coward.
So since it's our Thanksgiving episode, I thought it would be a nice gesture for each of us to go around the table and say what we are thankful for. Owen, why don't you start us off?
I'm thankful for this pumpkin pie I got. This third slice of pumpkin pie I got.
Sure.
On my plate right now.
You gotta fuel those gains at the gym.
Of course.
Peter, what are you thankful for this Thanksgiving?
I'm thankful for you lovely fellows and my beautiful family and my beautiful doggy.
Wow. Okay.
Well, that was too much.
Daniel,
Yeah, I know.
what are you
Hallmarky.
thankful for?
I too am thankful for my beautiful family, including my brand new baby girl Rosie. Welcome to the world, you little cutie. I'm also thankful for ice cold beer and football and them birds that go.
Go birds.
Go birds.
Go birds.
Go birds.
You are listening to Deep Dive Divas, the podcast where we listen to a novelty song, kind of about the Vietnam War, and share our findings with you. Our guests today are Pete and Dan. Pete doesn't want you to look at anything because he feels like there's too much promotion in this world as is. And Dan wanted to plug my butt. So you can and should go on our Instagram page using the links in this episode show notes to look at a picture of my butt.
That was terrible.
Well, Alice's Restaurant is an 18-minute and 34-second song that is about Thanksgiving and the Vietnam War. It is performed by folk musician Arlo Guthrie. It has been enshrined in the National Recording Registry in the Library of Congress as it is, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. It has gone platinum, meaning it has sold how many copies, Owen?
1 million.
Yeah. Still got pie in your throat, boy?
3 pieces of pie down the gullet.
1 million.
It's that adolescent hunger, you know? Follow me back, if you will, to 2004. It was Thursday, November 25th, and Daniel's father, let's call him John, was driving Daniel, myself, and John to go play golf at a little chip and putt golf course near us that cost $1 per hole. And I'm not sure that we even paid it on that day, as that day was Thanksgiving Day. And we played our 9 holes of golf and then went home. On the way there, the radio was tuned to 93.3 WMMR. Easy listening. And the great but seldom late Pierre Robert put this song that we're discussing today on the airwaves, as he has done for decades in the Philadelphia area, and I fell in love. This was my first time hearing the song, and I thought it was just wonderful. Hello, it is your host with some sad news, especially for anyone in and around the Philadelphia area. This episode was recorded on October 14th. About 2 weeks later, on October 29th, Pierre Robert passed away at the age of 70. It was exceptionally unexpected, and people are really grappling with his loss as someone who really meant a lot to them, not just around the holidays, but all year round. Rest in peace, Pierre Robert. You are very much missed. Follow me even further back than 2004 to 1947. World War II is over, kids. USA. USA. And in a flurry of patriotism, Arlo Guthrie was born on July 10th in Brooklyn, New York City. Does it get any more American than that?
Oh, shucks.
He's got an Empire State of Mind. And he was born
Motor City.
There's a lot of cars there. Specifically in the neighborhood around Coney Island. His mother was one Marjorie Mazia, a dancer and dance teacher and health science activist. His father was the schmuck no one ever heard of named Woody Guthrie, one of the most prominent people associated with folk music. He was also a socialist who hated fascism, and he wrote songs with titles such as, quote, "Tear the Fascists Down," and, quote, "This Land is Your Land." Woody's life as an Arlo Guthrie's father was insane. He was friends with John Steinbeck, author of, Grapes of Wrath, Of Mice and Men, as well as Pete Seeger, one of the other most famous folk musicians to have ever lived. And he worked through the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma. He wrote for a communist newspaper, and he hosted a radio show sponsored by the Model Tobacco Company called Pipe Smoking Time.
Is Pete Seeger related to Bob Seeger?
That's
We
have had this exact conversation,
Yeah.
and I frankly don't remember. I don't think he is.
I'm on it. No.
Not
They aren't.
related.
No.
That's bullshit.
It's a real Danny and Donald Glover situation. Well, anyway, this isn't about Bob Seger or Danny Glover, nor is it about Donnie Glover. It's not really about Woody Guthrie either, but we're going to keep talking about him. Woody Guthrie, in addition to being a fantastic musician, was a horribly abusive alcoholic who was horrible to his wives. He had 3 of them, and all 8 of his children. Arlo was the product of Woody's second marriage to Marjorie, who we already discussed. And they had 4 children together. So half of Woody Guthrie's children were with Arlo Guthrie's mother, Marjorie. His 2 older half-sisters passed away from a neurodegenerative disease called Huntington's disease. Arlo Guthrie's father, Woody Guthrie, also passed away from this in 1967. This is a family marred by tragedy and death. 2 of his siblings died in transportation-related deaths, one in a train accident, the other in a car accident. And another sister passed away in her childhood. Arlo's upbringing was an interesting one. He was bar mitzvahed, but later converted to Catholicism. He went to grade school in Brooklyn until he moved up to Stockbridge, Massachusetts, which must have been a massive culture shock to him because there is not a lot of people or things to do in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. And then he took a summer off after graduating to go live in London, and then went to Billings, Montana to drop out of Rocky Mountain College almost immediately. Basically, as soon as he got there, he dropped out. Arlo Guthrie spends what would have been his Thanksgiving break in 1965, had he not already dropped out of college by this juncture, visiting his friends and former teachers, Ray and Alice Brock. They were not his teachers in college, they were his teachers in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. He lived in a boarding school there, even though he lived in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. So, like, ostensibly, his mom just didn't want him in the house anymore. So he went and lived in this boarding school, ran by, a bunch of different teachers, 2 of whom were Ray and Alice Brock. Alice ran and owned 3 restaurants in the Berkshires of Western Massachusetts. Prior to this, Ray and Alice worked as teachers at that Stockbridge school, which was it had a reputation for being a very progressive school, very anti-war, very pro-liberal values. Alice was the librarian there, and Ray was the woodshop teacher. They were socialists and would invite other like-minded friends to come and play music and have political meetings in their home, which happened to be an abandoned church that the couple had purchased. The Brocks planned to hold a massive Thanksgiving dinner in that church, but it was a mess. They lived in the bell tower, and the rest of the place was strewn with trash and debris, so they were only using a very small part of this building. And then when they went to have this big dinner party, they're like, oh yeah, this is really disgusting. So Arlo Guthrie, when he came back from his not college Thanksgiving break, decided it would be a good idea to help them out by loading up the trash into a car and driving it to the dump for them. As this revelation happened on Thanksgiving Day, the dump was closed. So they threw the trash off a cliff on what turned out to be private property, which is a crime. The police were notified of this, and they found Arlo Guthrie and arrested him. Alice bailed Arlo out of jail and was so angry at the police that she was almost arrested herself. Arlo Guthrie had to pay a fee and pick up the garbage that they had dumped. This is the first part of the events that are discussed in the song Alice's Restaurant. And they seem to be true. The Berkshire Eagle ran a story on it the very next day with the headline, quote, "Youths ordered to clean up rubbish mess," which shows you how much the Berkshires had going on. Well, what about the restaurant? We're talking about Alice's Restaurant, the song today. And the restaurant is basically not mentioned in the song Alice's Restaurant, nor is Alice, really. Alice's first restaurant was called, quote, The Back Room. And it was in the basement of none other than Norman Rockwell's art studio. Seriously. It didn't last very long, unlike the Vietnam War, which lasted 20 years, from 1955 to 1975. And the United States had sent troops into combat around 1965 and wouldn't withdraw them until 1973. So we were actively fighting in that war for about 8 years. Since not a ton of young people were excited to go to the other side of the world to fight and potentially die in Vietnam, a draft was held, which is kind of like a lottery in which young men were assigned numbers and were selected to report for active combat based on whether or not their number was called. Arlo Guthrie is summoned to do just that in this story, and it looks as if he's going to be deployed until they review his criminal record to find that he actually has a criminal record for littering. Well, Arlo Guthrie, inspired by all of these events that I'm talking about, took to the stage at a venue in Greenwich Village, New York City, called Gerde's Folk City. That's GERDE''S, Folk City. This is where Bob Dylan first professionally played 5 years earlier as the opening act for John Lee Hooker. Bob Dylan would return to the stage many times, as would a great many folk singers from this area. The version of Alice's Restaurant that is most popular is recorded at this exact location. This is what you're hearing when you listen to all 18 minutes of Alice's Restaurant. It's at that stage. However, no one would hear this version of the song because it wasn't released for another year until Arlo put together a full album entitled Alice's Restaurant. So on the first side, on a vinyl album, Alice's Restaurant, the song, takes up the entire first side, and then there are 6 other songs on the flip side, all originals. The song features a guitar part that repeats pretty much over and over and over again in the Piedmont style of guitar playing. Dan, would you happen to have a guitar nearby?
I do. Let me see if I can bring it around on the guitar.
Did you foresee this coming?
I mean, why else would you invite me here?
All right, let's hear
I
it.
cannot attest to the tunedness of this guitar, so
That's
this might
fine.
sound
You have
terrible.
children in the home.
Yeah.
It says this guitar changes diapers on this guitar.
Nice.
Oh, it's not in tune.
That's
It's not
fine.
in tune.
Let her rip
That's
anyway. Nice. Well done. So the Piedmont guitar style playing, you can kind of hear from that. It's where you take the thumb while you are playing guitar and kind of alternating between strings playing the bass line. And that's what Dan just demonstrated for us. Arlo claims that he wrote that guitar part that Dan just played in about 2 seconds because he wanted something easy and, quote, mindless to be able to ramble over top of it. I think that's BS. I think that's a really difficult guitar part. And I think he worked really hard on this, actually. But I think of the time, from the time of the 60s and everything, it was all about being effortless and.
I was very proud of myself when I learned that guitar riff when I was 17.
You put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's difficult. It's for sure difficult. So yeah, I think I don't believe him when he says that that's why he did that. There is some drum and bass, not to be confused with drum and bass in the song. But that is Arlo who is speaking, quote, singing, and playing over top of this. I didn't know that. I assumed that Arlo Guthrie was just speaking over it. I had no idea that he was playing guitar too.
Borderline impossible. I don't even. I've tried talking over it. It's hard.
I think if you had a year to rehearse this over and over and over again, I think you could do it. Guthrie family lore says that Arlo sent a demo tape of this version of the song to his father, and they claim that it was the last thing that Woody Guthrie heard on his deathbed before he died.
Whoa.
Could you imagine going out that way?
Do you think he laughed himself to death?
Could be. Or he was so brokenhearted by the disappointment of his son. The first side of the record, as I said, is Alice's Restaurant Massacre, which is the full title of the song. And then again, there are 6 other songs on the other side, only 2 of which crack the 3-minute mark, so very short songs by contrast. Arlo Guthrie is the only musician credited on the album under vocals, guitar. There are obviously uncredited musicians playing stand-up bass, drums, harmonica, electric guitar, and keyboards, but he never bothered to write their names down, so we don't really know who they are. And I've scoured many an interview, and he doesn't talk about the other people in his band, which I kind of think was a thing in Greenwich Village, where you would have people just kind of join up, sort of like open mic night sort of style, and you might not really play with those people again. So maybe that's the case. I don't know if he's being a jerk here or not. And we're back. Last month we watched a movie. Next month, what are we going to watch, Owen? Join us next month as we watch Ernest Saves Christmas. Well, the album comes out in 1967, and the album gets Arlo Guthrie a record deal, which led to a highly lauded Newport Folk Festival performance, which is a famous music festival, still going strong today in Rhode Island, which cemented Arlo as a prominent folk figure and took him from playing small coffee shops and bars to headlining Carnegie Hall and playing Woodstock. He was one of the acts that played Woodstock just a couple years later. By March of 1968, the album hits number 29 on the Billboard 200 chart. Nuts to think about. And then it returned again a couple years later and hit 63. So he has multiple appearances on the Billboard 200 with the same album. College kids are largely what caused this to get so popular, because they call into the radio stations and demand to hear it all year round. It's not just a Thanksgiving song. Kind of blows my mind to think about college kids being like obsessed with the song, but they were. And they very much, like is so often the case on the show, seem to be very much responsible for the song's popularity and Arlo Guthrie's rise to fame. The song has a slur towards gay people in it. It starts with an F. And despite that, most radio stations that play this around the country never seem to edit that part out. And the FCC has never punished the station for playing it to date. There's never been a recorded instance of that. This is all in despite of the fact that Arlo Guthrie himself has started censoring that part when he played it live. Almost immediately after the album came out, he stopped saying the F word, and before ultimately retiring the song by 1970 for several decades. Within the context of the song, he seems to be... It's the villains of the song that use the F word, and I don't think he is at all glamorizing that or anything, but it is present in this, and it's kind of jarring to hear in 2025. The Back Room, the restaurant where Alice Brock's restaurant was, actually shut down before the song or album were ever released. So Alice's Restaurant did not survive to hear Alice's Restaurant. It closed its doors in April of 1966. Alice and Ray actually divorced in 1968, and Alice would go on to open and run 2 more restaurants on her own. One a takeout window kind of restaurant, and another much bigger sit-down restaurant, until she shut that down in 1980 and stopped doing restaurants altogether. In 1969, I don't think any of you guys have seen this. There's a movie called Alice's Restaurant based on this song. It was directed and adapted by Arthur Penn, who directed Bonnie and Clyde, as well as Night Moves and Little Big Man.
Night Moves, talk about Bob Seger.
We can't escape him. He's just always here. So this movie starts off following the song, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a very cute little romp. And then it goes completely off the rails. Arlo Guthrie stars in it, and it's really sad. It focuses primarily on drug abuse and domestic abuse, things that never come up in the song. Alice really hated the movie and called it a mischaracterization, and she was actually really upset that it got made this way, because her husband Ray, who she does divorce in real life, is depicted as like a wife beater and like abusing Alice, and she's like, that never happened. And yeah, this seems to be the adaptation on the director's part, not Arlo's part, but she was really upset about it. On a lighter note, the Alice's Restaurant Cookbook came out in 1969, the same year we went to the moon. USA. Which features some of Alice Brock's real-life recipes and some of her life philosophy written throughout it. It also includes in the book, this is something I did not know existed, something called a tear-out record, which was a really thin vinyl record that was temporarily playable on a vinyl record player. So somehow when they were printing it on paper, they were able to get this super thin record and have the grooves in it that would actually play for a while on a record player until that didn't happen anymore. And on this record, they're also really short too. You can only fit like a couple seconds worth of stuff on there. It's kind of like the hit clips of their day, you know? But they play two songs, Arlo Guthrie and Alice. They play two songs together called My Grandma's Beat Jam and Italian Type Meatballs.
Italian type meatballs sounds like a Chef Boyardee product.
Each episode, we like to highlight the up-and-coming work of a discography developing diva. Today, that is Sweet Moves. Sweet Moves is a band from the Philadelphia region, and it happens to feature everyone who you're listening to on this podcast right now. You can and should check out their music using the links in this episode's show notes. It is now time to stop in the name of love with Sweet Moves and their track, St. Kitts.
It's been some time since you last inquired about your home that you never lived in or admired. Pretty, such a pity that you never knew. Pretty, such a pity that you had to leave. I thought that I had built this house for you. Now I know that I will one day live it too. All that's left to do is get you to approve of living with someone that you never knew, who's carrying the torch for you. I knew you were special from our initial contract. I already was on citizenship, but that did not diminish the impact. Pretty, such a pity that you never knew. Pretty, such a pity that you had to lose. Starry tropical nights and summer Caribbean days. We'll paint the bastard red and hold hands at frigate bay. All that's left to do is get on the move. It's coming soon. I can hear it like a tune. Starry tropical nights and summer Caribbean days. We'll paint the bastard red and hold hands at frigate bay. It's coming soon. You're ending your due if you do not approve. The end is coming soon.
You can hear more from Sweet Moves. Visit our shop and social media pages, contact us, view our citations, and so much more by using the links in this episode's show notes.
By 1986, 19 years after its initial release, Alice's Restaurant had gone platinum. So it is continuing to sell records for almost 2 decades after its release. In 1991, the church that Alice and Ray lived in was restored and fixed up and made into the Guthrie Center, which functions as a live music and performance venue all the way to today. Still up and running. In 1996, Arlo Guthrie played the album in its entirety live at a venue called The Church in Housatonic, Massachusetts. Arlo updates Alice's Restaurant with all kinds of things that happened to him and references from the past 30 years since the song's initial release, including the observation that the length of the original Alice's Restaurant, again 18 minutes and 34 seconds, coincides with the exact same length of time as one of the famous gaps in the Watergate tapes. I guess the implication being that Richard Milhouse Nixon was listening to all of Alice's Restaurant while spying on his opponent. Let's skip through the 2000s, shall we? When Arlo Guthrie, Alice Brock, and Rick Robbins on Thanksgiving Day of 2022.
I think you mean Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin. Beautiful. Rick Robbins was Arlo's friend who helped Arlo throw the trash down and clean it all up and everything. Alice, Arlo, and Rick all have a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner together for the first time since the song's release. 2 years later, Alice Brock dies on November 21st, 1 week before Thanksgiving. She was 83 years young. In 2025, Arlo Guthrie claims that he performs the song every 10 years. That means next year would be the 60th anniversary of the song's recording. However, in 2019, Arlo Guthrie suffered a stroke that resulted in him announcing his retirement the following year. And I frankly don't know what's going to happen next year. Will Arlo Guthrie come out and play the 60th anniversary edition of Alice's Restaurant or not?
Gee, I sure hope so.
What do we think about this song, team?
I think this song's just a fun story. I love the tie-in with Thanksgiving, and it's become totally like a traditional like piece we listen to like every year.
There's not a lot of competition.
No,
songs.
especially for Thanksgiving, and especially around 12 and 2, like you said, Pierre Robert. That you can't beat that. Just firing up the old radio. And
When you catch it, it's like especially awesome. You know,
yeah.
anyone can cue it up, but if you catch it on the radio,
yeah,
on again 93.3 WMMR.
means more rock.
Smooth jazz.
And yeah, he plays the original version and a more recently recorded version.
I think that's the 96 version. That is
Okay,
playing.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I think it's hilarious.
That's all you got?
It's great. I like it. I like listening to it once a year.
Okay. Daniel?
I'd like to piggyback on top of hilarious. I think you you think back on the things that shape your sense of humor throughout your life, and I think this is one of those like key moments. Like you remember that moment in my dad's car. Like I think this song, it pulls out all of the comedy stops. There is like not a moment in this song that isn't funny for some reason or another, whether it be like a silly turn of phrase or like dramatic hyperbole or like total farcical situation. I was actually really surprised to hear that a lot of it is true because it's so silly. And then to round it all out with like a silly but somehow pointed poke at the way we equate the armed forces with morality in the face of something as dumb as you did some garbage and now you can't join the army and have veins in your teeth. Like it's a masterpiece in storytelling, and it's so hilarious. Like it's a beautiful piece of work.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to believe that it's even done live because of how exact. I only detect one moment in the whole song where he trips over his words, but it has this cadence where it's like kind of rambling the whole time, and it's kind of amazing to me that he doesn't mess up more throughout it. There's very few filler words. He doesn't really say or anything. Like everything's very rehearsed, and it just feels so seamless. I think it's a beautiful piece of storytelling. And I think what you were saying, Dan, there isn't like a moment of wasted time in the whole thing. Even when like he says like I was inspected, detected, rejected, neglected, like just the way he comes up with things. I think it's really brilliant. I love this song so much. What were you saying?
And then he always calls back to them too, right? He gets that rhythm, and then he calls back to it a few minutes later in a sillier way, like what does he say? Detected, neglected, inspected, and selected.
Yes.
And then a few minutes later, he uses that to complain about getting detected, neglected, and all sorts of mean, ugly, nasty things.
Yeah.
And he gets all worked up about it. And it's like the rhythm turns into a whole nother joke the second time through. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, to be able to have that kind of delivery live while playing the guitar too. I didn't realize that either, that he was playing that lick while doing this entire thing.
And that it's live. It's one shot, man. Like it's truly remarkable, I think. But yeah, love the song. And I think of you guys when I hear it, and it's just a wonderful thing. Pete, can you give us a little bit of your impression?
Oh, Danny did a good one there too.
Well, let's hear you doing one.
Well, I was sitting there on the Group W bench, and I was waiting, sitting next to the meanest father lover of them all.
Got some pie in my throat still.
Not as much as Owen. Well, I think because we have criticized the song far enough, this counts as fair use. We're going to play all of Alice's Restaurant for the listeners at home. But the listeners at home, if you're interested, you're going to get to hear almost 20 minutes of Alice's Restaurant. And I just want to wish you and your family many pies in your throats this Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yep. Dan, anything you want to say? Do you want to say Happy Thanksgiving, everybody?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Gobble, gobble.
This song is called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant, that's just the name of the song. And that's why I call the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was on 2 years ago on Thanksgiving when my friend and I went up to visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Facha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And having all that room, seeing as how they took out all the pews, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. We got up there, we found all the garbage in there, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the city dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on toward the city dump. Well, we got there, and there's a big sign and a chain across the dump saying closed on Thanksgiving. And we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before, and with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one till we came to a side road, and off the side of the side road was another 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage. And we decided that one big pile was better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. That's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obie. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage, and just wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obie, cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." After speaking to Obie for about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter and said that we had to go down and pick up the garbage and also had to go down and speak to him at the police officer station. So we got in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, headed on toward the police officer station. Now, friends, there was only one or two things that Obie could have done at the police station, and the first was that he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely and we didn't expect it. Another thing was that he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even counted upon, and we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. And I said, Obie, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on. He said, shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car, and that's what we did, and sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, scene of the crime, unquote. I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this happened here. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in a newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station. They was taking plaster tire track footprints, dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After the ordeal, we went back to the jail. Obie said he was going to put us in the cell. Said, kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your wallet and your belt. And I said, Obie, I can understand you want my wallet so I don't have any money to spend in the cell, but what do you want my belt for? And it said, kid, we don't want any hangings. Said, Obie, did you think I was going to hang myself for littering? Obie said he was making sure, and friends Obie was, because he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. And he took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll and have an escape. Obie was making sure, and it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? It's a song about Alice. Alice came by and with a few nasty words to Obie on the side, bailed us out of jail. We went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, and didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down. Obie came in with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back each one. Sat down. Man came in, said, all rise. We all stood up, and Obie stood up with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures, and the judge walked in, sat down with the seeing eye dog, and he sat down. We sat down. Obie looked at the seeing eye dog. And then the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and looked at the seeing eye dog. And then the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and began to cry, because Obie came to the realization that it was a typical case of American blind justice, and there wasn't nothing he could do about it. And the judge wasn't going to look at the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And we was fined $50 and had to pick up the garbage in the snow, but that's not what I came to tell you about. Came to talk about the draft. We got a building down New York City, it's called Whitehall Street, where you walk in and you get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. I went down to get my physical examination one day, and I walked in, I sat down, got good and drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best when I went in that morning. Cause I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. Man, I wanted to feel like I wanted to be the all-American kid from New York. And I walked in, sat down, I was hung down, brung down, hung up, and all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. And I walked in, I sat down, they gave me a piece of paper, said, kid, see the psychiatrist, room 604. And I went up there, I said, shrink, I want to kill. And I want to kill. I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth. Eat dead, burnt bodies. I mean, kill. And I started jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And it started jumping up and down with me, and we was both jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And the sergeant came over, pinned the medal on me, set me down the hall, said, you're our boy. And you feel too good about it. Proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, detections, neglections, and all kinds of stuff that they was doing to me at the thing there. And I was there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there for a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things, and I was just having a tough time there. And they was inspecting, injecting every single part of me, and they wasn't leaving no part untouched. Proceeded through, and when I finally came to see the very last man, I walked in, sat down after a whole big thing there, and I walked up and said, what do you want? He said, kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested? And I proceeded to tell him the story of Alice's Restaurant Massacre with full orchestration and 5-part harmony and stuff like that, and then all the phenomena stopped me right there and said, kid, did you ever go to court? I proceeded to tell him the story of the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one. That stopped me right there and said, kid, I want you to go over and sit down on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid. And I walked over to the bench there, and there's Group W is where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And there was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people on the bench there. There's mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers sitting right there on the bench next to me, and they was mean and nasty and ugly and horrible and crime-fighting guys are sitting there on the bench. And the meanest, ugliest, nastiest one, the meanest father raper of them all, was coming over to me, and he was mean and ugly and nasty and horrible and all kinds of things. And he sat down next to me and said, kid, what'd you get? I said, I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage. He said, what were you arrested for, kid? And I said, littering. And they all moved away from me on the bench there, the hairy eyeball and all kinds of mean, nasty things, till I said, and creating a nuisance. And they all came back, shook my hand, and we had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father raping, all kinds of groovy things that we was talking about on the bench. And everything was fine. We were smoking cigarettes and all kinds of things until the sergeant came over, had some paper in his hand, held it up and said, kids, this piece of paper's got 47 words, 37 sentences, 58 words. We want to know details of the crime, time, the crime, and that kind of thing. You got to say pertaining about the crime. Want to know the arresting officer's name, and that kind of thing. You got to say, and it talked for 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word that he said. But we had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench there. I filled out the massacre with the 4-part harmony and wrote it down there just like it was, and everything was fine. And I put down a pencil and I turned over the piece of paper, and there on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side. In parentheses, capital letters, quotated, read the following words. Kid, you rehabilitated yourself. I went over to the sergeant and said, Sergeant, you've got a lot of damn gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself. I'm sitting here on a bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench. Cause you wanna know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids' houses, and villages after being a litter bug. He looked at me and said, Kid, you don't like your kind. And we're gonna send your fingerprints off to Washington, and friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little folders, a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason I'm singing you the song now is because you may know somebody in a similar situation. Or you may be in a similar situation, and if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do, is walk into the shrink wherever you are. Just walk in, say shrink. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant and walk out. You know, if one person, just one person does it, they may think he's really sick and they won't take him. And if two people do it in harmony, they think they're both faggots and they won't take either of them. And if three people do it, can you imagine three people walking in, singing a bar, Alice's restaurant, and walking out? They may think it's an organization. And can you imagine 50 people a day? I said 50 people a day walking in, singing a bar, Alice's restaurant, and walking out. And friends, they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is. The Alice's Restaurant Anti-Massacre movement. And all you gotta do to join is to sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar with feeling. So we'll wait till it comes around on the guitar here. Sing it when it does. Here it comes. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. That was horrible. Want to end war and stuff, you gotta sing loud. You could put a lot. I've been singing the song now for 25 minutes. I could sing it for another 25 minutes. I'm not proud or tired. So we'll wait till it comes around again, and this time with 4-part harmony and feeling. We're just waiting for it to come around is what we're doing. All right now. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Accepting Alice, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. So walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Da 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 da.